let's face it, if you're living with a mental illness, you have low self-esteem. I know that I do. In fact, I'm probably, yeah, no, I would say I'm probably one of the most insecure people I know. I revisit every conversation. I have to psych myself up to go into pretty much any situation. Um, don't really feel confident in my own abilities or ability to advocate for myself. Just a whole bunch of issues. And it's all come from having a mental illness. Why this came to a head for me this week, particularly, is I had to have a very difficult conversation with someone last week. And it was a difficult conversation. It was in a professional setting. So things needed to be said. Nobody was in the right or wrong. It was a really, really difficult conversation. There'd been a misunderstanding, and I instigated kind of a reconciliation process. That doesn't sound right. I just wanted to clear the air. So I got another person involved, and we sat down and we chatted through this fairly significant issue, particularly for the other person, not so much for me, but for them, it was a fairly big deal. So something came out at me through this conversation. The fact that I felt that I had absolutely no worth in this conversation, and that everything that we talked about was how I had done the wrong thing, and that uh, that person was right and I was wrong. And while I'm having this conversation, I was going backwards and forwards with my own sense of self-worth. So I want to dig into that a little bit today. Subscribe, like, and share if you would. This is going to be a good one for anybody that, even if you are living with somebody that has a mental illness or somebody at work that you care about that's living with this kind of thing, this might be a really good one for you to listen to today. Let's dive in and see what happens. Welcome to Mark My Words. Mark My Words is the story of my journey from a place where I was shattered to where I could live again. As I said at the top, when you have a mental illness, in my experience, and the people that I speak to, we generally have a very low sense of worth. We have low self-esteem for a variety of reasons, not least of which is, self-stigma, self-hatred, self-detesting. You know, you know that you're not right or quote unquote normal. So you know that you react poorly to different things. So it's natural for us to assume in our minds, in my mind, that I am less than, that I am not qualified, that if what I see is distorted through the lens of my mental illness, then perhaps it's always my fault. This is untrue, and it's a lie. It's not a lie that I'm introverted and don't have low self-worth, but the fact is that I am still a person. I still have opinions and thoughts. I still have something to offer. Now, my mind is the first one that's telling me, no, 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 no. You need to just shut up in this situation. Clearly, you are not able to advocate properly because you are broken. You're distorted. You are not right in the head. So clearly, that other person who isn't broken is going to see things a lot more clearly than you do. So let's go to this situation. And again, I will not identify them in any way possible. So this needs to be understood that this is not an attack on anyone. It's not at all. This is a self-reflection from this conversation. So we did this thing and it went really, really well, apart from a few small issues. Then Afterwards, the other person came to me and said, "Look, in essence, I felt really devalued by some of the things that you did and said in that thing. Clearly not what I want them to walk away with. Clearly not what I want them to think. Clearly not what I would hope that somebody would take away from an interaction of any kind with me. That I don't value them, that I don't appreciate them, that I don't honor them for what they're good at, for their position, for their achievements, that sort of thing." But while we were having this conversation, there was this roller coaster in my mind that was, "Mark, you did this." And my mind went, "Yeah, you did. Why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that." And then the other side of my mind would go, "Hang on, no, you're the subject matter expert here. You know what you're talking about. You have a valid right to have done the things that you did. Maybe you could have done them differently, but you're you. Um, you don't, I don't prevaricate. I'm the same with you, with my next door neighbor, with the student I meet in the street, in a classroom. I try to be the same with everyone because that's all I can be. I don't have the mental capacity to try to be a chameleon for every different person. I can't do that. It broke my heart that this person felt that I had devalued them. It broke my heart that they misunderstood my intention. But of course, this roller coaster in my mind, every time I advocated for myself, I found myself prevaricating and going backwards and forwards. I found myself unconfident or not confident in what I had just said. So I would make a statement, and then in my mind, I'd go, "Oh, that's not right. That you can't say something like that." Like trying to defend myself, trying to advocate for myself. And that's why I brought this third person in, because I trust them, I like them, um, and I know that they know where I'm coming from. And they also know that I can be misunderstood. A lot of people see my extroverted nature come out and they're quite surprised by it, because most of the time it's the introverted me that is there, the quiet, the silent. I have resting cranky face. I know that. If I'm just sitting there doing nothing, I look angry. I'm not. That's just the way my face goes. Can't help it. So I understand that people can misunderstand where I'm coming from at times, particularly when that extroverted me comes out, because it looks, well, it's me before I got hurt. Not caring how I impacted people, um, being very confident in my ability to be out there in an appropriate way. Took me years to learn that, and then it was all destroyed when I got my mental illness. So, what's my point today? What am I trying to get at? I'm trying to get at the fact that if you're speaking to a person with mental illness, you need to understand that there is a whole nother conversation going on in their head while you're chatting to them. Now, that conversation is not necessarily a good one. It's analyzing, it's critiquing, it's flagellating you inside your own mind. You're an idiot. Why did you say that? Why they're not understanding you. Say it better. Why can't you advocate for yourself better? And on the outside, I know it just looked like me defending myself. No, you were wrong, which is not what I was trying to get at. But in this case, if I look at it all parts equal, all parts being equal, I probably was more on the correct side of this conversation, of the confrontation. But still, that thing inside my head was just, it was kicking my ass. I was, even in the days, like it's what, 4 or 5 days ago that this happened, in my mind is still kicking me about this conversation. Why did you have to have it in the first place? If you weren't mentally ill, it wouldn't have happened. You were out of line. You did this wrong. You did that wrong. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you explain this? Why didn't this and this and this? To the point where when it comes back to I've got to go into the same situation to do the same activity with the same person this week, I don't want to go. And it won't make sense to anyone for me to say that because they'll have looked at my performance in that situation and said it was exemplary, just the same as it always was. You did nothing different apart from, trying to add a little bit of coaching in while we were doing what we were doing. It was maybe a little bit more blatant in that. But I'd done that before in many, many situations. So let's get back to how it makes me feel. I am still devastated over this conversation. I am still devastated that this girl was devastated. Um, she may not, or they may not have thought about it since. They might not have cared. They might have listened to the conversation and gone, oh, okay, I see where you come from. Great, thanks. Let's not think about it anymore. But me, up until the moment that I see this person, and even while I'm seeing them, while I'm working with them, my mind is going to be second guessing itself over and over again. Don't say that. Do say this. And I'm not going to be able to be myself until I just launch in and forget it and just go, you know what? Let's lay all the cards on the table. Let's just see what happens, which is generally what I do in those circumstances. Just get past myself and just push through. So let's talk to the person that doesn't have a mental illness. You're having a conversation with a person. Maybe it's a colleague, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a loved one. And on the outside, it might look like you're having a completely normal conversation. This is just a conversation. And then something happens, they go off or they get upset or they don't look at you right or something goes off the rails. We've all had these conversations with people. What is it important to realize? For the most part, it's got nothing to do with you. It's not a critique on you. Generally, it's not something that you've done. Maybe it is, but the response is disproportionate. It's not what it should be. I can't tell you what to say, particularly when it's a workmate or something. I mean, I was on the edge of a breakdown when I was in the public service, and I went into this job as a team leader, as a manager. And within an hour of me being there, I had 3 people crying on my shoulders. It was horribly mismanaged before I got there. I was not in a place to be able to deal with these people. I was not in a place where I could say anything to them. So why were they crying on my shoulder? Because I showed them kindness, because I showed them understanding. I cannot tell you what they said. I mean, given the fact that it was a few years ago, but even at the time, I didn't really understand how much abuse they'd suffered under a previous manager. So these responses were not to me. Well, they were responses to my kindness, but they were responses to the situation. Now, each and every one of these people, and it was 3 women, and, it was all like in hallways and stuff. It wasn't in closed offices or conference rooms. It was just people that I caught in the hallway, and I maybe said something to them in kindness. Oh, hey, this was really great that you did this. Or I want to tell you, I really appreciate watching how you did that. It was excellent. And these people just break down crying. It was difficult for me because I was the one that was quote unquote broken in that situation. What was my response to those people? And you have to understand, it was not easy conversations for me to have, but it was just thanking them. It was just letting them know that I was there, that Maybe I didn't understand the entirety of the situation, but with me, they were safe. I was not judging them. I was not calling their professionalism into question in any way, shape, or form. I was applauding their bravery. And then it was once we get out of that, once they calmed down, once they got things sorted, that was when we had the conversation. And for one girl, it was the next day. And it was just she'd never heard a kind word said about her work because she was just one of those workers that was really, really, really good at the job, but wasn't demonstrative about it. Wasn't like, hey, I did a good job. They just showed up, they did their job, they did it perfectly every time. And the systems that they built for themselves were excellent. And I wanted her to teach them to the rest of the team because she was by far the most productive. Um, and she'd just never been appreciated like this in this role, taken for granted. You're going to meet people that are in crisis and they don't look like they're in crisis. You're going to talk to people that are struggling and you won't know that they're struggling. But when you find out, when you understand that it's, hey, there's something going on here, just letting them know that you're a safe place, letting them know that you can't fix anything and you are going to make suggestions. You are going to, hey, have you gone to your doctor about this? Have you spoken to your partner? Have you done this? Have you done that? But at the same time, having that understanding with them that I can't fix this for you. I am not the person to fix this for you, but perhaps I can make it a little bit easier. Perhaps I can show you support and encouragement and be there for you and validate their feelings. Hey, I might not understand, but your feelings are valid in this moment because you're feeling them. When a person comes to you and says, I'm struggling, that shows trust. It shows respect. That person thinks highly enough of you to confide in you. Now, it's important, as I've mentioned, to not believe that you can be the person that can fix those problems. Now, these women that came to me crying in the workplace, I couldn't fix the heart root of the issue was that they felt undervalued under a previous manager. What could I do though? I could celebrate them. I could let them know that they've done a great job, that I respect what they've done, and help them to be leaders in the team. Hey, if everybody's wondering how this process could be done better, have a seat with Susan, not her real name, over there, and just watch how she does it. Mate, would you mind explaining it to us? Perhaps go through it a little bit. What has been the the thing for you that has made this is making you so effective? I could not fix their heart issues. I couldn't make them feel better. I couldn't become their carer. You can't do that in the workplace. But I can just show support. Next time I saw them, how you doing, mate? You feeling a bit better? Good stuff. The next day, how's it going today? Has that issue cropped up again? No? Okay, good. Let's keep moving in the right direction. It's a fine line, but it also equates to people that you love and you care about. When one of my daughters attempted to take her life, because I was a suicide survivor, you would assume that I would be the guy to talk to her. I was not the guy to talk to her. I could love her. I could support her. I could give her the best of my love, but I couldn't fix her. I was not in a place to be able to fix her. I was not the guy to fix her. I had to rely on the system. I had to rely on doctors, psychologists, pediatricians. And that was not easy as a dad. You feel like you're abrogating your responsibility, you're giving it away, you're letting other people take away your responsibility. But my responsibility was to love her, to be there for her, to joke with her when I could, to let her cry when she needed to cry without judgment. You're entering into something that is not easy to deal with, especially with a person that doesn't believe that they're worth enough for you to worry about their problems. It's where self-worth comes into it. You can't have a constructive conversation with somebody that doesn't believe that they're worthy enough to be in the conversation. I just encourage you, if you are living with mental illness, you have valid opinions, you have value, you have strengths, you deserve to be listened to. If you're supporting other people, do that. Just support them. Be there for them. Don't have to have deep and meaningful conversations every time you see them. I never sat down with these women and asked them about why they were crying. I had a breakdown before I could, but I was never going to. I got the headlines. Okay, bad management, bad day, a little bit of abuse at home. Here's where you should go for support. Abuse at home, unacceptable. Call the cops. Previous manager can't do anything about that. But next time we had conversations, just how's it going? How are you feeling today? Has that issue resolved itself? Yeah, great. No, okay. What can we do better? Just remember that you're talking to somebody that has no self-worth and they do not believe that they're worthwhile of your time or attention. I want to thank you for checking out the show today. Like, share, and subscribe if you would. Um, yeah, I'll catch you next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Mark My Words. I'd like to thank my producer, Meredith Brosnan, and also Torian, Kevin, and Lorraine. And I can't forget the band Adelaide, who allows us to use their song as our theme.